Hiya, it's Xavier. Welcome to my bonsai retreat. And guess what? Today I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to be pruning my big Dawn Redwoods.
Let's watch that mouse.
So join me. Let's go find the Dawn Redwoods first, because normally they sit just here. So if they're not here, where exactly are they? Well, to get the answer to that, you're going to have to wait around for the intro. Okay, fair enough, they haven't gone that far away, they've just dropped down to floor level and I've got them on the black plastic. And the reason why I've done that is because I know that once I water them, they'll sit in a pool of water. And if you look behind this one, you'll actually see that there is actually water and it's quite damp. And something I learned from Jason Hanrahan of the Bonsai Garden is that Dawn Redwood seem to like wet feet. And ever since I've remembered that, I've found that they've actually responded a lot better. So big thumbs up, Jason, thanks very much. I think I showed you in a task list for June, July, briefly, that Dawn Redwood's one of them, and I actually indicated then one of the issues I was facing. Unexpected that it was. So let's quickly zoom in closer and I'll show you why I won't be doing any work on them this year. Yeah, this Dawn Redwood, definitely one of my original videos. Looks absolutely magnificent. I love the non-standard way I've got it with the curve and these roots embracing this rock. But I've got a mixture of reasonable fronds. Some of them are nice and green, but some of them, like here, the ends are all dying off and clearly have been cooked or frazzled. They were repotted a couple of years ago, so I know there isn't anything wrong with the soil. And the only thing I think I did wrong is this year, because we had the early April sun, about the only time we have had it, I think these got cooked off and they're trying to recover from that. So when we've got a plant that's either unhealthy or the fronds aren't responding as we want, then we actually have to turn around and say, do I want to put it under extra stress by doing some heavy pruning? Now we've got a lovely branch that's got ramification coming off of it, and this has taken a long time. And first question, are the new shoots ruby red? Definitely on the tops we've got a lovely ruby red, so they'd definitely be safe to prune. And if I wanted to prune them, that meant that I could say prune there, because it's got ramification or shoots coming off the side. So I could prune to try and promote more budding from those little junctions. But I'm very aware that all across the board here we've got lots of browning fronds, which means I'm going to lose a lot of these. I know I am. Beneath it there's some new fronds, but they're green, so I can't do anything with those. So all in all, I'm actually going to leave this. I've got this big one here, but beneath it I've got a nice healthy frond. I quite like that. I will probably, with a nice pair of scissors, remove that so that I get a much better change in direction, but otherwise I'm going to leave it. Now what I will say is, just because I'm making that decision in that particular tree, it doesn't mean I couldn't actually have a go and prune back for ramification. I mean, a lot of those fronds have actually died or are dying. You could quite easily remove them because they're not necessarily doing anything good for the tree itself. But although I've read lots and I've been working with Dawn Redwoods for many years, I still like to observe how they perform under different stressful conditions. And I tell you what, being in my garden has got to be stressful for any tree.
First thing you said I agree with.
Because I think, as you noticed in that that seasonal guide for June, July, I did notice something that was actually quite positive and interesting, and I want to observe it further, and I'll show you exactly what I mean on one of these two. I think what's unusual, I haven't seen before, is that from nearly every leaf frond there's new buds coming out. Now I haven't seen them perform like that before. So again, here lots and lots of tips growing all over, and it's looking very, very green. I'll probably give this another 3 or 4 weeks and perhaps have a look and see if I do some pruning. But I think what I might actually do is actually let this go and observe it, because sometimes there's nothing wrong with just letting a tree keep flushing out. I've got my basic primary, secondary structure. The worst thing that happens is I get to autumn and I just cut right back. But I really want to observe this. I want to see how all of this frond growth that's developing, which I've never seen before, how it actually develops through the year. And I'll tell you what, why don't we get a little update on this later in the year. But you know what? I think we can do some Dawn Redwood pruning though. let's go to the top of the garden. Okay, well, hopefully you can see now why I'm going to be a little bit cautious. Leave those bigger ones alone. Much as I'd love to get my little fingers in there and dabble around with them. But you know what? They've given me 3 years of really excellent growth. I'm going to give them a rest. They're going to stay down on the black plastic, nice damp feet like I've suggested. And instead, why don't we have a look at some Dawn Redwoods that are ready for pruning. So I can just show you that ruby red colour I've been talking about and how I intend to prune. And really, this will be the forest, which is I'll talk about. And it's something that I put together, like a lot of this younger stuff, from cuttings. Can't hammer home enough. Take your cuttings. If you love bonsai, take your cuttings. You know what? 90% of them die. It doesn't matter, because the ones that live, you can start turning into decent forests. And in fact, although I'm sure there's a video showing the construction of this, which is probably up there, I have actually been doing just a little bit of videoing just to show you what I did earlier in the year before the fronds come out. So let's zap out and have a look at early me. Yeah, we've got lots of odd shapes all over the place, and it's still very young. I know we're going to get that more back budding over the next couple of years, but what do we have to do? First year, survived its planting. Not a lot to look at. Well, the rock's nice. I like the rock. Quick spin. But this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
You know, when you're building your bonsais or building your forests. Now, definitely, I know there's a few who mentioned in the comments actually that, you know, none of my forest formations conform to the rules. Well, you know what? This is my bonsai collection, and this is the way the cuttings, a lot of them came out. Some of them had wire, some of them got weird bends, and you know what? If they really don't look right, I'll deal with them at the next repot. But that's fun for me, and I'll tell you what, my little brown bear is very happy. In fact, he's so happy that he left the old 24-year-old Japanese larch cops that I had him in. What are we going to do? Well, recently repotted, not bothered about the repots at all. It's going to stay in this pot for at least another year. But let's have a little look and just have a look and see what sort of work we can do in the foliage. Now, go on. Anyone who's done Dawn Redwoods know they don't grow in any way that makes them anything but a frustrating tree to ramify. And sometimes you've just got to accept a species for what it is. But what easy wins are there with this? Well, the first one's here. If we look at this branch here, first of all we can see this is the ruby red colour I'm talking about. But we ask ourselves, so it's ruby red, tick. Does it have any ramification coming off of it? No. So I leave it. No matter how long it is, there's not a lot I can do about it. But the easy win here is what I want to try and do is do something about these big long stalks that are going upwards. Well, let's have a look and see what's just underneath that. Just there. 1, 2. And this is exactly what I want. So instead of having these great big long ones here, what I'm actually going to do is go for the smaller ones down below. So I'm going to cut that one off. I'm going to cut that one off. So now what we've got, and it's making the best of what we have, is 1, 2, 3 younger ones, which means I can potentially wire them in the autumn when they're just a little bit stronger. But I'm going to let those grow out, but they've got ramification. So again, if I wanted to, I could certainly prune those tips off. And that's what we're looking to do, is try and find easy wins on a tree that is very difficult to get any sort of win from. That's lovely. I've got a lovely one going straight up. So what we'll do, I've got this one here, that's not ramified. I'm going to get rid of that one. But what we have got here is a ramified one, ruby red. So I'm going to shorten that. And then we've got this one just here. Ramification just a little bit higher up. These are blunt, by the way. Just a bit higher up, so we'll cut that and shorten that. Now truthfully, I need that ramification a lot lower down. It's not giving it to me, so what I may well end up going for is new buds at the base there. Because in the end, we don't always get what we ask for. And sometimes it's a case of attrition. Each year we prune, we wait and see what the tree gives us, and then suddenly it gives us exactly what we want. Yes, I want to keep some sort of canopy on it, keep some sort of growth around it, but I'm just going to slowly see if I can find easy wins like I did with these two here and this one here. Now on this tree we've got a situation where we've got 2 branches, ruby red, ruby red. 1, 2, 3, 3 sets of extensions have come through. So yes, we can definitely prune it if we want. Now, I could actually wait, wire it slightly down. In fact, it's already going slightly down, and leave it. And what I'm actually going to do is just take the growing tip off for now. Now the one here underneath it, that's growing but not ramified, so I can't touch it. But this one is actually, if I was going to keep it, is ramified but still green. So it still hasn't lignified sufficiently that if I did the pruning, it would then prompt the back budding response. So I'll leave that too. Higher up, I definitely higher up want to reduce right back to those. Here we've got the handlebar situation, so I've got to decide where I definitely want the outward branch. Got another one up there, so if I take that outward branch off, that inward, and then remove the outward one there, so we've got 1, 2. I've got this situation just under here where you've got a little bud there that's got this growth here. It's more juvenile, but above it we've got one here that's very dead straight, absolutely dead straight. I'm actually going to take a chance to remove that one because I like that this has already got a little bit of movement in it, and see what that produces. So it can be unusual, and you can come across some odd things like that, and really again it's down to yourselves how you see your tree or your forest or grouping working out and what balances and works for you. Ideally you keep branches that are going outwards on a forest. Obviously inside bends you don't want to keep those, and you're looking for any of those branches like this one. This one has got a load of ramification off it, so that's quite a useful branch. But the problem we have with it, it's a Dawn Redwood, there's miles before we actually get that ramification. So you need to get used to the species as well and make it fit with how it behaves. Now something we should be aware of is when we're going along, this is where the buds come from, right at the junctions here, and there's 2 little ones here, there's another one just coming up here. Now while this length is going on, all the energy will go into this one. Well, it's a long way until I get any sort of ramification at the end. So what I might do is take a chance, say okay, let's shorten this right down. I've done the same with this one that was growing up across here, because what I really want is that to extend and these to come out. And so sometimes we're just almost paying a little bit of a lottery just to see if we can get something better coming either horizontally rather than vertically. And it doesn't always pay off, but that's part of the game. Now sometimes you get things like this. You've got this branch coming up, got just a little thing here, absolutely useless. Really what you're telling the tree is, I don't like any of that, give me some more buds. So what I've done is I've cut off all the branches that were here, and this is when I say if you want to try and encourage new buds, if you've just got a single strand like that, if you just cut it anywhere, I just cut it to the profile of the pot, but that will encourage back budding much closer in here. And that is why you'll sometimes just see me, I know it's not going to ramify, it's not going to be good, I'll just cut the ends because I just want it to look good. I mean, in truth, that's me experimenting with the species, observing, writing down, just seeing how it reacts to that sort of pruning. I don't have the answers. So again, if you're coming to me, the one answer I can say to you, ruby red, ramified, then you can prune and you will get budding coming from the place that you shoots, wherever those shoots have come out from. Otherwise, it's experimentation. If you cut anything else back that's not ramified, invariably what will happen is you'll get a bud right back at the base. Let's keep going round. Where have we done? We've certainly thinned out this one now. Just got everything, little fronds coming out on the one side. Same with this little one here. And I'm just going to be doing the same thing as I work my way around this one here. And I think the interesting thing that's going to be with this one is revisiting somewhere in the early autumn, just to seeing what sort of response we've had. Well, there you go. That's how I'm happy with it. And you know, it's a work in progress. Some of the branches haven't worked out though I wanted this year, but I know next year there's a good chance that I may get exactly what I want. And you slowly have to, very slowly sometimes with redwood, just patiently wait for those buds to just pop up in the place you want them. And you know, if you're patient enough and the tree's healthy, it's got a good root system, then eventually you'll get that canopy in just the right direction and the right places and the right ramification. In terms of aftercare, well, I've taken a load of foliage off. What we do want is the tree to push out some more growth. That's going to require a little bit of energy, so I'm going to keep it well fed. I've got my BioGold. Wind's picking up a bit, so I'll whack that in, and hopefully we're going to see some nice results from this. I mean, what I'm going to say is, sometimes you probably watch me doing this and think there doesn't seem any rhyme or reason, and yes, we've got this ruby red, but the rest of it seems to be pretty arbitrary. Hey, I'm a hobbyist. In many ways it is. I observe as much as anything and have done for years. What I do know about these things is it doesn't matter how many branches you cut off, it will throw out brand new buds in all sorts of positions. And to be fair, if we think back to what we saw at the beginning when I said why I won't prune stuff, you've seen just how much emergency budding growth is potentially there. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to wait and see what comes out, and then later in the year we'll probably tackle that. So never worry. Generally I try and keep a profile of some sort, and I'm happy. Now what I will say is that as a result of all the work I've done that, and each year the same thing around this time, I get loads of these little redwood cuttings, semi-hardwood, normally got a little stump, and I've found, you know, I'll put 6 or 7 of them together in a little pot, and they do beautifully. I don't use special soil. I'll just basically throw in whatever bonsai soil I've got. Normally it's quite organic mix for the cuttings. That's what I'll do with those. You've seen me do loads of cuttings, but if you do want to see me do it in detail, lovely video just there, and there'll be a link in the description. But hey, let's have a look at some of my cuttings now. I'm definitely not telling you porcupines when I talk about cuttings. These were the cuttings that were from last year, this time last year. That's what I mean, just straightforward container, and it's the old bonsai potting soil. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in there, and one didn't die. I'll leave them in a container like this for at least 2 or 3 years, until actually they look like this. These ones have been in a couple more years longer, and again they stay at the same place in the bottom of the garden, nice and shaded, but they're getting taller. And this is about the time that sometimes I might just cut a few branches and have a look. But I think, contrary to what I normally do, I want to put together a forest where they're all dead straight branches. So that's this one. And then I did have one from this container, and that got put into a pond basket. Loads of roots underneath there, because I then put that into a growing bed. We've got this lovely shape here, developing nicely. So what I'll probably do is just a little bit of early pruning. Oh look, we've got the lawn mowing going on. And I'll go around, and I'll literally, in this case, just want to remove some of this lower stuff just to get an idea of where the branch is going. Well, we've got the usual. In fact, I'll go around there and do what I normally do. Reduce any junctions to just 2. And just try and open it up a little bit, but certainly not looking at any particular style right now, although clearly we've got an informed upright building. What I will do though, just trim off some of these roots and then put it back in to my nursery growing bed, and I'll literally just sit it like that. The roots will all grow down, and that will give the energy necessary for this. So I'll have a little go with this. You don't need to see how it turns out. In fact, you'll probably see next year when I put that into a pot. So, from Xavier, I hope you've enjoyed my little foray into Dawn Redwoods. Still been a decent year for them, and hopefully you've got some redwoods also doing well. If you've liked this, big thumbs up. If you think anyone else will, by all means please share it or subscribe, whatever. But otherwise, like me, enjoy your bonsaiing. Happy bonsaiing, God bless. Cheers.